Hello everyone and welcome to another video on the Project Artemis channel. My name is Emma Hagen and today I will do a journey to get a tier list. The format is absolutely new. We have rotation, so I figured the best way to do it is to just look at all the different things we have here and see which ones I personally believe in at least. Start off with the tiers. S tier is something I believe is just a proven deck almost, if we can say that about such a new format, and something I would be comfortable just slamming into a new tournament, either a League Cup or a major tournament if I had to do that. A tier is a deck I believe is something that has a lot of potential and will probably be proved to be a top tier contender. And B tier, I think it's good. I wouldn't bet on it being good, but I wouldn't fault you for playing it. The C tier, you're fine, but there should just always be a directly better option in the metagame for you to choose. And main tier, don't play it to tournaments. It's fun in the league challenge, but if you want to actually win games, you don't need to bring it. So far, I think that we should start with what, in my opinion, is the Forerunner as the best deck in the format, as Tor Reckless played it to Champions League, did well at that, and has been pretty much the image of the post rotation, in my opinion. I think there's no reason not to put Tera Box in S tier at the moment. It's a deck that just can answer absolutely everything in the format. Whether you're small, you're big, you can kill with Wellspring, you can kill with Pokémon. If you're big, you can kill with Pikachu. If you're even larger than that, you can kill with Lilith's Clefairy. The deck just has a lot of options. It has the best engine in the format with Noctowls, and it has inbuilt draw engines in both Teal Mask and Fast Liberty, so it's not as vulnerable to INO as you typically would assume with a Noctowl engine. My opinion, it's just been powerful and is something you absolutely should be testing or considering for events going into this new format. Dragapult Dusknoir is in the same boat, but I would say it's slightly better than Tera Box because you just play, instead of having the versatility of multiple attackers, you just play pretty much the best attacker in the format, and you have Dracloaks, which just allow you to set up in such a way that other decks really can't in this format. So I think if you played Dragapult before rotation, it's fun enough to stick with it. It has solid matchups into Tera Box as well, so I wouldn't fault anyone for just sticking with Dragapult. I would call it the current best deck in the format. Dragapult Sato is an absolute meme. I need to talk about that. Dragapult Iron Thorns. It's Dragapult, but you remove all your good cards and add a bunch of bad cards. It was good for one tournament, don't play it again. Gholdengo didn't really lose anything, and it just is a very solid shell to begin with. Gholdengo as a card is both draw support and big damage in a deck that requires a bit, but really doesn't require that much to just get a big one-hit knockout immediately. You can play with a bunch of different things. You can play with your one prizer of choice, either Sizzle or Ethan's Typhlosion. I think especially Ethan's Typhlosion is something that I would experiment with if I was going to play Gholdengo. It's awesome protection against Iono, and it's just a very, very powerful one-price attacker in a deck that really would like to hit more than 130 with a one-pricer. Of course, you still have the small baby Gholdengo that you can rely on as a backup option, but I don't know if that's what you want to be doing. Gholdengo Dragapult. You play two really good cards. You play draw support with good damage with spread damage. You have a lot of options in the format, but in my opinion, I would much rather just either build around a better Dragapult deck or build around a better Gholdengo deck. You definitely can do well with it, and it's fun to play, fun to draw cards, but I don't see this as the correct way of building either deck. Gholdengo, the non-spells, is basically the same as normal Gholdengo. Charizard Noctowl. It's kind of disingenuous to call it purely Charizard Noctowl because the way it has been built, it's more or less a Tera Box style deck without less of the options and more of having Charizard as your main attacker. You still play Water Energy, you still might play Fighting Energy, and you definitely play at least Wellspring, maybe Terrapagos, and even a Crispin. Like, just having access to the Noctowl engine with a massive beat stake, it's definitely something I believe could have a lot of potential. And I think Charizard is the best big beat stick to pair with Noctowl. If you want to give up on versatility for more power, definitely test the Charizard Noctowl build. It's done well in Japan. It hasn't felt horrible when I've seen friends play it. I still doubt it a bit because Charizard is so linear when you have Dragapult and Gholdengo that does the same thing, but built-in draw support or built-in damage manipulation. But Charizard has obviously proven itself as a very powerful card, so don't sleep on it. I think Charizard Pidgeot is strictly worse than Charizard Noctowl, and I'll only include what I view to be the best version of the deck. Charizard Dragapult. This is Charizard, but it's more of a Dragapult deck. If you don't want to rely on Crispin or Sparkling Crystal, then Charizard is a very good backup option to that, in addition to just having a big beat stick and big attacker in matchups where 200 just isn't enough to hit. And it gives you a lot more versatility and actually going around and retreating between your two prices, using Tera more effectively. You get to set up your attackers without draining all your resources. You get to play Unfaced Out, which is a much stronger ace spec compared to Sparkling Crystal in terms of disruption, just stealing games you're not supposed to win. I've been in Denmark. I currently live in Sweden, so with Oscar Madsen running around terrorizing everyone with Charizard Dragapult, I would be a hypocrite not to put it at least in A tier. The deck is definitely good. Test it if you haven't, check out Oscar Madsen if you haven't. This Charizard the non-spells is fun, but it's strictly worse than Charizard Noctowl. Archaludon. Archaludon really doesn't also lose anything to rotation. It's still a massive beat stick, 300 HP. It's very, very, very difficult if you don't play specifically Pikachu X or Gholdengo. And with double, you're allowed to just abuse Turo in a way that you weren't allowed to do pre-rotation. So now you can effectively use Turo as either a boss or a heal card, and you can also use the boss and a heal card in the same turn. So now you get to play both Scoop Up Cyclone and boss without using the supporter slot. So if you can find a way to make the deck consistent, the deck definitely has a lot of merit to it. You get to be 2-shot heal, you get to kill their bench sitters, either if it's Pheasantipity or just Dracloaks or something, Noctowl, Hoothoot. We've seen similar things work in the past with Sauropod, just targeting evolving basics and Acerola when they hit into it. Of course, we don't have the draw power of trade in this list, but I feel like regardless, the deck still has a lot of potential. Speaking of potential, Archaludon. Cloth has been one of the best decks in the format pre-rotation. It won EUIC, people underestimated it a lot, but the poison package has just proven itself to be massively successful. And with the rotation of Oranguru and Forest Sealstone and La-di-da, it's a little bit more limited what you can do about it, but with a bunch of Carmine, squat ability, and being able to draw cards, it's still a good package. But Cloth has lost double turbo, so Cloth is not a valid option anymore. Archaludon is probably the best you're getting. I have to admit that at first, when I looked at the deck, I was very weirded out by what Archaludon was doing in the list. But the more I looked at it, it just makes sense. You don't have anything else in the format that just requires such little energy acceleration outside of itself, and it just can hit everything for KO with the poison package. You can play Perilous Jungle Stadium, plus 20 damage. You can play Mochis, plus 20 damage. You can play either Kieran or Black Belt, plus 30 or 40 damage. So even though 210 probably is one-shotting everything in basic in the format, you have the option to one-shot absolutely everything in the format. I think the deck might struggle into Iona spam from Dragapult, but aside from Dragapult, there's not that much Iona spam in the format currently. With Curlia rotating, that's like the main Iona deck before format, so I think you have a lot of breathing room to be vulnerable to Iona. And Archaludon is definitely a deck that can take advantage of that. Speaking of Zoroark, and Zoroark, it's not awful, but the deck just really doesn't do that much. It has Dominance attack, which is just a Wellspring attack, but worse. You have Reshiram, which doesn't hit anything enough, except if you get hit itself, then 200 HP it really isn't enough to survive most things in the format. You get pointed by Dragapult. Sure, you might survive with 200, but they can also just dust around if they want to do that, and they can dust around. Tera Box kills it with Pikachu, not an issue. Archaludon can one-shot it. Archaludon double can just walk around it. Gholdengo can one-shot it. So actually, I think I'm putting this down in meme tier. The concept of the deck isn't that bad. You do have trade, you do have spread, you have big attackers, but you don't have a premium option of any of them. So I think if you're playing Zoroark, it's purely because you enjoy the ability of trade. I don't see what the deck does in the format. The same with Hop. Buzzrock is fun. I played Buzzrock at release, it was amazing. But Pokemon don't really have that little HP anymore, so even though you might do 90 for 1 energy, like Archaludon's just like, okay, cool, I one-shot you now. Gholdengo was just like, cool, don't particularly care. Cramorant is fun, but you don't do enough to one-shot 2 prizes, so there's no real reason to do it, and Cramorant never survives any attack, ever. I think all of the cards in itself still have a lot of merit and potential in the new format, but I don't think they go that well together. Station is a great card that might pop both in Archaludon builds to counter Cornerstone. Cramorant is an awesome Pokemon that might just show up as a one-price attacker in certain decks that don't really have one-price attackers. Just as an option to one-shot other one-prices, kind of like Slitherwing or Sandy Shocks has been in Raging Bolt for some amount of time. And Snorlax obviously just has an amazing ability, and still can attack decently. God of War. I have seen a lot of hype around God of War. I don't get it. The reason God of War was so good is that you get to sit behind a one-pricer that kills something every turn while being almost immune to Iono, and you get to actually cycle through your deck very effectively. This Gholdengo is completely different. Sure, you still have the great Monkidori lines, and you still have the powerful 1 prizes, but you need 2 prizes to set up your board. You need Pheasant ability. You might even need Spark ability, it depends on your build. And you need to play a horrible ace spec often for it to work. Like I've seen Amulet of Hope, don't believe in it. I've seen Blender, I get it, I don't think it's good. You need to set up typically a rare Canigalvo, or you need to Evo into Kelly that doesn't have refinement. I see the strong points of this deck, but I don't believe it has anything to contribute when it comes to the top tables anymore. As far as I'm concerned, this deck is dead, and a new card has to be printed before I change my mind. You can play different support Pokemon like the Dunsparcels or Archetypes, but I don't think it does anything. Raging Bolt is currently the premier, like, big beat stick basic Pokemon in the deck. Sure, like, you still have Roaring Moon, you still have, what's it called? The Fire one, Gouging Fire, you have Okidogi EX. Raging Bolt just does a lot better option than any of those. You have the Noctowl, you have the Teal Mask, Stardust, a fine draw supporter for the deck, and you just get to one-shot a lot of the format, well, everything in the format, for a lot less maintenance than what you would do for a different 2-price basic deck. So if you want to hit hard and hit fast, Raging Bolt is the new thing. And you also get to play, like, the best card in the game, Fanroton. Feraligatr. Feraligator's good. It won a 5,000 per person tournament in Japan. That's nothing to scoff at. Sure, the Japanese might play different lists than we do, but to ignore such a result would just be childish. I still think the deck has, like, some question marks. Doesn't seem the most consistent. I haven't experienced it to be the most consistent. But it does have winning lines into pretty much everything in the format, just depending on how fast you get going and what options you get to have. Great Tree is awesome, Relicanth is awesome, Hidden Run, people don't play that many assets to Mimikyu depending on deck. So I just feel like Feraligatr is a deck that has a lot more potential than we give it credit for, but I wouldn't expect it to be popular by any means. Walls. I have heard a lot of talk about walls. I'm going to put it at the bottom of the tier. I don't particularly like power walls. Sure, you get to just have a lot of solid matchups into things, but if the opponent is prepared for it, you don't really do that much. You have bad attackers for bad energy cost, you don't play a particular card draw, and if, say, your Gholdengo opponent just plays Ethan's Evolution, nothing you can do. Say your Tera Box opponent, they might lose to Farigiraf, but then that means you have to play Farigiraf, and they still might have options around that. Well, I just don't think the deck is consistent enough or powerful enough or has good enough options to be a tier 1 contender. But it's something that you should keep in mind for the metagame. Same with both Mimikyu and Bessie Walls. It's not particularly good. Slowking. I'm gonna put it in B tier. Slowking has not seen that much hype in the West, but with the rotation of Manaphy, it's very scary to be Trifrosted. Trifrost just reads win the game if the opponent is not prepared. So against the Dragapult and you get to Trifrost, 2 Dracloaks and either Dreepy or, say, a Dusclops or a Duskull for that, you just delete all of their setup. And there are some matchups where you're just not going to be able to do that. Gholdengo, your options are hit 250, so you're probably not going to have a great time against that. But you should have good options into most everything in the format. Against Archaludon, you can just snipe Firefrost once and then one-shot everything. And then if they bench either any poison pieces or any Wooloo or anything, get to take a prize at the same time. Deck does struggle with consistency, but you do have the inbuilt Satu plus Cypher Maniacs, so you're not exactly going to be dead. I think it's fairly solid, but I wouldn't count on it being in the top tables. Ceruledge, bad. You don't really do anything that Raging Bolt doesn't do. And you have to play twice the amount of energies that Raging Bolt has to do. Sure, you have access to Briar, and Briar is a good card, but I don't see what Ceruledge with Briar does that Charizard knocked out with Briar doesn't do. Frostlass, Munkidori. Gonna put this second highest in Beach here. It's a bit disingenuous to call it completely Frostlass Munkidori because a big part of the strategy is Bidoof. A lot of these decks just completely struggle against the Bidoof. It might not struggle throughout the entire game, but you should be able to find some point to attach a Gravity Gemstone, counter catch or something, Bidoof, and spread tons of damage, Munkidori. And you should be able to just completely lock them out of options, at least 1 out of 3 games, and then you might just become lucky. You might have a turn when they don't draw what they need and just completely run away with the game. This deck also struggles with consistency, something that a lot of the decks in this format really does, but when your game plan is Ichipon for 10, you're allowed to have a less consistent deck because you don't need as many resources as your other contenders need to do. Flareon. Flareon has a good attack in general. You do 130 and charge up your build. You can do it for 1 energy with Sparkling Crystal. You can use Crispin. You can use Blast Trumpet. You have a lot of options to just charge it up. And then you have the other EVs, the Sylveon, Glaceon, Leafeon, whatever you need, as backup attackers if the Flareon isn't getting you alone. I think it has potential. I don't think it's particularly strong out the gate, but any big Noctowl deck that can do relatively big damage fast is something to keep an eye on. I think the deck is solid. Future Box. Bit uncertain where to put this. I think I'm gonna put it after Slowking. Future Box has a lot of merit that it didn't have before, with most of the giant 2 prices rotating and just consistency being lower is a massive win for Future Box. The deck has always sort of capitalized on a strong turn 2, turn 1 with Miraidon, and then been kind of weak in the late game. But you do get to do something that nothing else really does in the format, and you do get to be a good Iron Force deck. If you play against Raging Bolt, Archaludon, Charizard, Gholdengo, any of those, even type Walls, Gardevoir, Iron Force is still a good card, but the rest of the format, if they want to play Iron Force, they need to completely base their deck around it, and that's not something that's good in the current format, in my opinion. So Future Box being a good option that can prey on one prizes, has a good one prizer itself, has solid spread with Iron Crown if you ever need it, and just is the deck to play Iron Force. It means that it has a lot of potential in the metagame. I don't know if it's going to be realized, but it's definitely good. Terrapagos is big, very big. You get to have a 230 HP basic Pokemon that can't attack for free, but you can attack relatively easily with Crispin, Blast Trumpet, and Counter Game. Even though DT rotated, you have a lot of options in the format to charge this thing up, and with Bifront and Charm, you get plus 110 damage, which means that your Terrapagos is officially the biggest thing in the format. Has more HP than Charizard, more HP than Archaludon, more HP than Dragapult, and you get to either play Penny or Turo if you wanted to. You don't need to, you hit hard enough. After all, you can play with Dusknoir. I don't know if you need to play with Dusknoir, just being big, tanking attacks isn't a bad thing in this format. Say against Tera Box, they can't ever properly answer at 300 HP, 340 HP Terrapagos. So I think just having a good matchups into this and just being a very resilient deck into most things places it in a very good position in the format. I don't think that the Terrapagos lists have been reformed enough to properly put it in S tier, but I wouldn't be surprised if Terrapagos ended up in S tier at some point. It's also the only attacking deck that gets to play Pidgeot in this format, in my opinion. Tera Box could, but you just try to do too much. Terrapagos absolutely can play Pidgeot, and Pidgeot is a very good card. Ancient Box, meme tier. This thing has too much HP, this thing has too much HP, this thing basically has too much HP. This thing you can never one-shot. So Ancient Box might be appealing, it's a one-pricer, but no, don't think. Aside from this, I think Hydreigon isn't properly in meme tier. It's a very powerful card, but you don't have that much that the other decks can't do. You're basically playing Dragapult, but instead of going for winning the game, you're going for the opponent hopefully not being able to play the game. Milling 3 cards can be very, very consequential, but if your opponent doesn't dig through their deck fast enough, you probably can't punch them. So it's definitely something to experiment and keep in mind with. Tortoise played it to original, experimented with it. It's a good card. I don't think it's a good deck. Iono is very funny. You get to have the big belly bolt and attached energies absolutely everywhere, but you don't have anything that takes advantage of it. I think potentially in the future, Raging Bolt Iono might be something that will pop off as a rogue strategy at some point. Kilowattrel is a very good card, but I don't think Voltorb is nearly enough, and Teal Mask is a good enough partner for a Raging Bolt that you probably don't need the Iono package instead. I forgot to add Pidgeot Control to this tier list, so I'm just gonna pretend that Mimikyu Walls is Pidgeot Control. I think it's in the same place as Milotic Walls. The deck is just too inconsistent to work at the moment. You don't have any good way of searching out anything. You've lost Rotom and Forest Seal Stone, so you never really get a very consistent Pidgeot, and if your opponent knows how to play the game, they just target down the Pidgey as early as they can. Dragapult can just blow up anything at any point of the game. They just try to get a Dusknoir as quick as possible and blow up Pidgey or Pidgeotto if you have it. Tera Box just kills it immediately. You don't play Manaphy, Manaphy's rotated. I just don't think it has a good matchup into either of the top two decks, and it has a lot of weaknesses aside from that. You don't really answer 2 real well. You can get donked. You don't really have that many great trap options against Raging Bolt. I think you could play it. You can do well with it if your name is Ola Blitzel, but I don't think it's something that I would recommend. And I think that's it for the tier list. I'm probably not going to play the game as much as I had, since I don't have any majors in the format, but I will be personally very excited to watch the development of the metagame, and might even play an online tournament as well as some locals in this format, because I think it's a generally very cool format. I would think that my number one place would currently be Tropico's Noctowl. It hasn't proven itself enough to be ahead of the pack, but I think the power level and the bulk is something that we really, really like in this format. We don't have many great one-shot options, so just being bulky is a very good thing. With that, I would like to say thank you for watching, and like and subscribe if you want to see more of both me and the rest of Project Artemis.